Well, hello. Thank you for coming. I'm really pleased that Chris and TEDx brought agriculture into the discussion. So let's go from the theater out into the country. Just a little bit about background about who I am. I'm part of a third-generation farm family. We farm in south central Sedgwick County. We grow wheat, and we're a 4-H family, so we have cattle and sheep and goats and chickens and, of course, a horse. In my other life, I'm an ag writer and a PR counselor. And I think it's the integration of those two lives that made me really look at how agriculture is viewed. I didn't grow up in a farm family. I married into it. And so I really have seen over the last few years, and definitely over the last year, a disconnect between consumers and their food. And this happens naturally just because we have moved from an agrarian society. The numbers show that the average American is 3 generations and even as much as 5 generations removed from the family farm. So that's decades away from knowing where your food comes from. Let's see, how do I know? How do I know that there's this disconnect? First of all, in popular culture, and this is one of our favorite references to a farmer.
Too topical. Damn, I wish this event were tonight.
It's not tonight. When is it?
February.
Why are you wearing a tux?
It's after 6. What am I, a farmer?
So we like that one. That's one of our favorites. And we've watched it about 20 times over the last week and still laugh about it. But just on a more serious note, just in terms of news, business news, agriculture has been featured in regular business stories these days more often just because of the high farmland values. And outside investors are coming into agriculture and taking advantage of this investment. And one major news outlet did a story about one of these investors, and in the lead sentence he said he doesn't even own a pair of overalls. Now there's nothing against overalls, we love overalls, but it was just this misconception and cliche about what a farmer is and what a modern farmer is. In popular or in consumer comments, I follow a lot of ag hashtags on Twitter, and a lot of times you just see references about whether, questioning about whether farmers even own computers. So I really just think that there's this, this disconnect. Among our policymakers, there's legislation right now from the Department of Labor that's looking at how youth are hired on the farm. And this would be hired off of the parent's farm, but on the extended family farm. And I think it does show maybe a lack of understanding. Youth traditionally in agriculture have worked on grandparents' farms or cousins' farms. That's how they learn responsibility. That's how they get money for college. That's how they learn to be a farmer. And so I think in terms of even policy, there's a lack of understanding about what agriculture is. Okay, so I care about it, but why should you care about it? First of all, in terms of the global issue of food, we reached 7 billion people in October, and that's a milestone. Economists say we will reach 9 billion by the year 2050. And I've heard a description that's 2 Chinas, that we will add 2 Chinas by 2050. The United Nations says in order to feed all of those people, our producers will have to produce 70% more food than what they do now. Where is the food going to come from? In the United States, we're very fortunate. In our exports, we are the leading exporter for wheat and corn, and the 3rd leading exporter for rice. And Kansas is uniquely positioned in this because 20% of the calories consumed in the world are from wheat. And Kansas is known as the largest producer of wheat in the country, and half of what we produce, we export. So really, we have a unique position here in Kansas to feed the world. And just on a more local level, one Kansas farmer feeds 129 people. So you can see just the impact from one farmer. Also, again, back to policy, Farm Bill 2012 is being considered right now. It happens every 4 years. and it does have a lot of ag programs in it, so hence the name. But 66% of the Farm Bill in 2008 went for domestic nutrition programs. So as educated consumers, it's important that we pay attention to farm policy and farm legislation. And also just in terms of our dinner table is why you should care about farming and food. We've done a great job in looking at our nutrition labels and in feeding our families. And maybe it's time to look a little bit further down on that label and see where your food comes from. I think it's a great time now to connect with agriculture. First of all, our agrarian roots are part of our legacy, are part of our culture in the United States. So I think any time's a great time to not lose that connection. And look, in terms of what we're looking at here today with technology, technology has always been a part of agriculture. But now there's a management system called precision ag. And precision agriculture is about a farmer adjusting his inputs across a field. So for example, if you're fertilizing your lawn, you would adjust the fertilizer you use on your lawn based on what that particular patch of lawn needed. So in order for a producer to do that, they need technology and they need data. And so we have things like, of course, smartphone apps, but things like auto-steer tractors using satellite-based guidance systems. So a farmer would go along and everything would be uniform and efficient. We have georeferenced data at harvest, where as a combine is going in the field and harvesting the wheat or corn, the farmer would have a screen that would show the yield coming in from that particular patch of ground, as opposed to averaging it over all of his acres. And even on-the-go soil sensors. So a farmer can gather data based on what that particular patch of soil needs. And all of that really is down to accuracy by the inch or even the square foot. And here is just some visuals about what technology is being used in agriculture. And really, this is one of the ways that we will produce the 70% more food. And it also has to do with sustainability, so that farmers can produce more on the acres. We can have better use of our natural resources and take care of our fields better. So you can see the tractor cab and soil maps and the yield monitors. Okay, so how can we connect? One way that I would encourage you to connect, since we are from the wheat state, is to try growing some wheat. And I have my very own farmer here, and he is going to pass a bag of wheat around. If you wanted to take some wheat, and please take some wheat, and take it home. It's winter wheat, so if you plant it in your garden, you want to plant it in the fall. But plant it in your house, plant it in pots. I think wheat's a beautiful crop, and I think it might be fun for your families and your kids to see how wheat grows. And on my blog, I have a wheat flatbread recipe. So you can go to a health food store and you can buy wheat seeds, you can grind it at home in your blender, and you can make your own flour, so you can really have a Kansas homemade meal with wheat flatbread. And then also just the local food movement has really been reinvigorated. And we're very fortunate here in Kansas, in South Central Kansas especially, to have great local food opportunities. There's an organization called ourlocalfoodkansas.org, and from there you can go and you can find local food from producers, whether you're looking for organic or traditional. You can connect with exactly the kind of food that you want from producers. And then, even this time of year, when you don't have all of the farmers markets, you still can get meat and dairy and eggs and even some greens locally from producers. So there's always a way to find local food. We just went on a scavenger hunt in Dillon's just to find a local food. And there is 4-Star Hydroponics available at Dillon's, and they grow, they're in St. John, Kansas, and they grow basil and tomatoes. Helmuth Noodles from Hutchinson. Hildebrand Dairy, which makes delicious chocolate milk, really thick and delicious. They're from Junction City, but even Highland Dairy would be considered local or regional. And then Hudson Cream Flour from St. John, Kansas. That wheat comes from Stafford and Reno County farmers. So you can really, again, produce a Kansas-made, Kansas-grown product in your home. And then, of course, social media has provided many opportunities for ways for producers and consumers to connect. Ag chat and food chat are two hashtags to follow. I'd encourage you to follow at Harvest PM, which is Harvest Public Media. And that's based in KCOR in Kansas City. And it's a center of excellence for NPR for agriculture, based right here in Kansas. And they do excellent stories about, of course, ag policy, but stories on producers and just some of the issues affecting agriculture and food. The U.S. Farmers and Ranchers Alliance has something called the Food Dialogues, where you can go on and ask a question. I mean, ask farmers about if you're concerned about pesticide use or you're concerned about food safety or food transport. Go there and talk directly to producers and ask those questions. They have polls and videos. So really, you know, it's a way to go directly to them. And some other resources, I belong to American Agri-Women, which is a really fantastic organization nationwide that works to connect with consumers. And on their site, they have nutrition information and policy information. American Farm Bureau has a foodie blog. They have a My American Farm resource, so for parents and teachers, if you want to go in and find some fun games to wrap agriculture into your discussion, both excellent resources. And then USDA has a Know Your Farm or Know Your Food campaign. And again, this is a really great way to have producers go in and ask questions and find out answers. This has things like nutrition, it has farm to school food discussions, sustainability, rural communities. So everything that's tied to agriculture and tied to you, you can find at this site. And then, if nothing else, mark your calendars for March 8th. It's National Egg Day. And really that day, go to the grocery store, think about where your food comes from, or just talk about it with your kids that day, and just have them recognize that food comes from farmers that they see when they just drive even a mile or two out of Wichita. Those are the farmers that are producing your food. And there's a lot of kind of lingo out there in terms of what farmers are and who they are. And 98% from the U.S. Census Bureau, 98% of farmers are considered family farmers. So it really is a family that's producing food for your family. And I would just ask you to really just move beyond the cliche of what you think a farmer is. Just challenge you to really consider what the modern farmer is doing and how much food he's producing. And USDA has a great line where they say, every family needs a farmer. And I think that every farmer needs a family too, because as I'm challenging you to connect with who produces your food, also as farmers, we need to keep in mind who we're growing food for and who we're producing food for. And I think it's that circle that will make us really connected and really enhance our whole being. So thank you very much. I'd appreciate the chance to connect with you online and offline.